Bardella is a Democratic strategist and a News Nation political contributor. And Hogan Gidley served as former President Trump's deputy White House press secretary. He was also the national press secretary for Trump's 2020 campaign. Great to have you both with us. Kurt, the Cook Political Report has just moved Arizona and Nevada from toss-up to the, from toss-up from the Trump column, Georgia as well. He once led in Arizona, where Harris is today, by nearly 6 points. What is this going to last?
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't think anyone's questioning that this is going to be a close election, but I think that our audience would be best served if they heeded the words of former Governor Chris Sununu, who once said, if Donald Trump is the nominee, Republicans will lose again, just as we did in 2018, 2020, and 2022. This is indisputable. Direct quote. So given that, and it was interesting hearing Chris just a second ago talk to, that Chris Sununu was very worried about the drag that repeating Donald Trump at the top of the ticket would have on the rest of the Republican Party. Yeah. And I think that as we have seen this campaign kick off now, these few weeks have shown, Trump isn't going to be about policy. He's not going to stick to the issues. He's going to stick to the insults, to the character assassinations, and that just repels voters.
Hogan, why is he doing that when so many people feel that it would be more effective to really point out some true policy issues that the Democrats have? They have the big problems that Kamala Harris inherits as vice president.
Well, interestingly enough, Kurt Burns had something I think is very important, which is also folks on the left saying if you go too far radical, you're going to be in serious trouble. And what we have now is the most radical ticket we've ever seen from the Democrat Party. In fact, Kamala Harris is more radical than Joe Biden and less likable. The more people see of her, the more people hear from her, she goes down in the polls. That's what happened to her in the primary in 2019.
Well, not right now. It's
when
not
she went
happening
up against other Democrats. It's happening. It's not happening right now because the press is doing its job and putting bubble wrap around her and preventing her from answering any tough questions.
No, Hogan, trust me, we're all asking. We're asking for interviews. We've asked over and over and over. She's not giving them. It's not because we're putting her in bubble wrap. Her campaign staff, maybe.
Her campaign staff, yes, but let's not pretend for 2 seconds the media isn't compliant here. It's the same media that worked overtime in just 3 weeks and got a sitting president of the United States to resign who'd been in office for 50 years, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah, Hogan, so we didn't do that. I think Nancy Pelosi might have done that.
From pressure from the media, of course. Look, she's under the wing of the plane and the hostages are being returned. She gives some word salad, ridiculous answer per usual. The first question from the media was, are you going to meet with the hostages? Come on. Everyone knows they need to be asking her the questions about her horrible policies that have kicked us in the teeth for the last 4 years, but no one will. They want this. They're invested in this. The media was exposed completely for covering for Joe Biden, but that's not what this campaign is about. You talked about the media. I'm bringing up the media. But the fact is, the American people want issues to be met in their own lives. They want to be able to afford gas and groceries. They want a sane rational southern border policy.
Why isn't former President Trump talking about those issues? That was my question to you.
Yes, but he does at every rally. The problem is if he says one thing about Brian Kemp or if he says one thing about crowd size, that becomes the story. Donald Trump is focused on making the lives of the American people better, just like he did for 4 years as president. What we have now is a clear contrast in policy, a clear contrast in vision for the future. And if Kamala Harris continues with the platitudes on stage talking about how we need to fix the economy, well, that's interesting because if only you were in a position of power for the last 4 years from which to do any of those things you're talking about, you caused the problem. That's the whole issue. So these are the things we're going to find out from now until November. And if Republicans stick to those, as Sununu said, we'll be in good shape.
Kurt, I want to read you a headline from this afternoon's New York Times. It says, quote, Trump's tax plan could add trillions in debt. Harris's is a mystery. Her website doesn't even have a policy section. There's just a button to donate.
Yeah, and again, I think that we have a debate scheduled on September 10th between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, where I expect a lot of these questions to come up, where I expect that both candidates will have to define their positions, lay out their plans, lay out their vision. But what I've seen from Donald Trump so far, and I think this is what frustrates every Republican that I talk to, who consults right now for the Republican Party, for Republican candidates, it drives them crazy when he goes up there and goes on these long monologues about things like crowd size. Not a single person in America cares about the crowd size. Not a single working family trying to make ends meet cares about the crowd size at anybody's rally, just as they didn't care about anyone's golf scores, as we saw in the first debate. And yet Donald Trump, time and time again, when given the opportunity to define this race, goes off on these sidebars and tangents, not about policy, not about court differences, but instead results to talking about things like how dumb he thinks Kamala Harris is, how corrupt he thinks she is, how incompetent, how garbage she is. He uses all of these adjectives, which only play out as demeaning and insulting the constituency of women, frankly. And that's not going to get it done in this election for the Republican Party. They have not learned the lesson, apparently, from what happened in 2022 midterms, what has happened in almost every election since Roe was overturned. Republicans have underperformed, Democrats have overperformed. Why? Because Republicans have no answer for how to talk about women's rights and women's issues without insulting them.
Yeah. Hogan, you want to respond?
In so many ways, I would love to respond to that.
All right, but you don't have all hour. You got
I don't, but I know, but a lot to unpack there. Listen, the three main issues that are going to define this race are the economy, and the southern border, and crime. Democrats are upside down in all of those by every statistic.
Not in crime. Violent crime is down.
No, I'm saying they're on the wrong side of it because they're the ones who promoted the Summer of Love and allowed Minnesota to burn down, for example, like Tim Walz did, and promoted the criminals and tried to protect them, as did Kamala Harris, who tried to bail them out.
All Trump said Tim Walz did a good job at the time.
Yeah.
By the way.
All of these blue cities are seeing spikes in crime. A lot of issues in those cities, of course, but the southern border is a
down
disaster.
in this country.
Crime is down. But go on. Stick to the other two.
You ask the families who are suffering from crime in these cities how they feel about it, and they will tell you it's a serious problem, not to mention the fact that people who are coming across this border illegally committing rapes and murders, burglaries.
No one
and
thinks that that's not a
Kamala
problem.
Harris
No one thinks that people are okay with that.
Yeah, but Kamala Harris hasn't done anything about it. In fact, this is not by accident what happened at the border. It's by design. They did this on purpose because they want them on the government dime, so eventually they'll all vote for them in perpetuity as their
What are you
process.
talking about?
That's
there is
fine.
no place in this country where illegal immigrants can vote.
Hogan, they can't vote.
Using that line
They have
forever,
voted. They have voted, and that is such a joke. They have voted in multiple
No,
states.
it's not a
No,
joke.
they haven't.
As a
Right now in
Republican
governor's
strategist, I
time,
can tell you that's not a thing.
Yeah.
there are
We've been peddling
illegal
that line
aliens
since
voting in
2006.
multiple states.
It ain't
There's
happening.
literally someone in Pennsylvania right now who voted illegally, and now his citizenship is in question.
You know how many
because he didn't realize
Republicans
it
have
was
been
a
found
felony.
committing voter fraud in this country, by the way? How many Republican consultants have
Okay.
been found, like in North
Oh,
Carolina?
that's great.
I'm just saying.
Good.
I don't hear anyone
good.
talking
So
about
you're
that.
for transparency in elections and voter ID.
Yeah.
And
Hey,
photo
who won the
ID.
2020
Absolutely.
election? Who
Guys.
won the 2020
Good
election?
for you.
Who won the 2020
Kurt
election?
Bardella, Hogan
It was Joe
Gidley.
Biden. It was Joe Biden.
Okay. Important to know, it is illegal in this country to vote if you're not an American citizen, and statistics from the
it's illegal to
FBI
murder
show violent
people.
crime
There's
is
people
down
do it
in the
all the
United
time.
States. Thank
It's
you so
illegal to
much.
murder
Thank you
people.
so
They do it
much,
all the
Hogan.
time.
Really appreciate it. Gotta go. Kurt Bardella, thank you
Anytime.
as well. Really appreciate it. Okay. That was a little spicy today.